Okay, for the trees in the front, before we start doing anything, I'm going to be cleaning them up a bit with burnt umber and black. Sometimes I would put a bit more burnt umber than black, and sometimes I kind of add more black than burnt umber. But before we start putting the moss, any of the moss on top, we just need to darken them a bit to make them more cleaner and stronger and bring them forward. So we have trees, this one here, which is the big one. And then I'm going to do the one next to it, this one.
I guess last week, so I when we got it. A couple of weeks ago, so I guess you finished this.
And I'm just cleaning up a bit.
Oh, looks like this. When did you start it?
Okay. Right. All right. Let's take that one now. This one, or actually, let's go for this one here. One next to it. I'm going to kind of go a bit darker here because the tree behind it is glazed and it's lighter. So I'm going to enhance this, make it darker so it looks like it's in front. Yeah, that's good. You can tell. I'll zoom in a minute and then you can see. Okay, and then we're going to do, yeah, that one here. Okay. It doesn't matter what your colors you're using. If you're, brown or black with brown, as long as you have the darker, richer color in here. Okay. That's good. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see how it looks and we can start putting the moss. Okay, so now I zoomed in. All I have to do is actually put the colors on. And the colors that we're going to use, it's a combination of green and blue. So I'm going to use a bit of sap green, cerulean blue. If you have any other blue, it's fine. as long as you tone it down, as long as it's not turquoise, strong blue. You could use Prussian blue is good too. And white. Also. So I'm going to put a combination of cerulean blue and Prussian blue. And you'll see the difference. It's not about much a bit, it's not a big difference between both. It's a cerulean. You can see cerulean is a lot lighter and softer than Prussian blue. All right, so we can do this with a round brush. Or with the corner of this brush. It's fine too. I'm going to mix sap green, cerulean blue to make my green a bit more bluer. And I'm going to put a bit of white in there. And that is going to give me a really good mossy, bluish color. Okay. Let's take I'll show you with how you can do it with this brush. You just dab it on randomly. Put some small ones in between. We're going to go back to these and highlight them. I'm using the corner of my brush and I'm just dabbing a bit slowly. Now this is going to dry darker. That's okay. It's fine. We're going to highlight it a bit. I like to start with a bit of dark and then highlight it. So it seems like this brush is working very well. I don't have to change. And since I'm here, I'm just going to dab a bit. Let's take a bit of white. This tree doesn't have as many moss green on it, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. It's nice to put some more. Okay, let's highlight these. I'm gonna put a little bit more white. So I take white with the corner of my brush. White is strong, so if I want to use white, I'm careful usually. I like to use it slowly. Now let's say this brush is a bit too much and you don't like to use it and you prefer a round brush. I'm going to switch in a minute, show you how you can do that. When you dab, your brush is going to give you a different texture than when you put the corner of your brush and you control it a bit. You know, you just do a little bit of a round like that instead of dabbing. Dabbing will give you a good nice texture, nice pattern. But if you want it a little bit more controlled, or an oval, or a round, your brushstroke has to be a little bit more. Instead of doing this, do this. Now, if I want to use round brush, it's round brush, small round brush. That's fine too. Okay, I'm just going to put a couple here, different sizes. And I'm going to go up with this one. All the way up. Putting a couple of dots here and there. All right, so all right, I changed a bit the shape of this tree, so it's a little bit different from the reference. Okay, good. Let's go back down here. All right, let's do more. Let's do these two. Now that the dog calmed down. So I'm still working on the ones in the front. We're going to put some of these on the ones in the back as well. This mossy stuff really changes the whole look of the trees. It's great. I love it. Okay, that's good. All right, so before I finish or work on this one on the side, this one doesn't have, actually it doesn't have any moss on it. But I'm going to take a little bit of sap green, dark sap green, a bit, and wipe my brush. Just give it a bit of a greenish hint with the dry brush. Now, since I'm doing this and I have green, eventually in a minute when we're done, when we're ready to start working on the leaves again, I'm going to put some light greenish color in here for leaves. But for now, we're still working on the moss on the trees. So I'm going to take again moss color. And this time I'm going to put water in it. So putting water in it makes it like a glaze. I want to kind of make it transparent. So that's what the glaze is. It's a transparent color. Put enough water in here. I'm going to wipe my brush and then put some of this green, blue-green in the back on the tree, in the back, the trees that are in the back that we washed already, we put a glaze on initially. So the reason I'm doing this is that the glaze will dry, the color will dry, it's glazed color, so it will dry, and then what we'll end up with is a hint of that's moss in the on the trees that are in the back. Just a hint. That's what glazing does. Because it's transparent, it dries darker, especially because it's sitting on a darker background. So I'm painting it on dark background. That's good. So I can see a little bit of mossy colors, again, lighter over on this tree, which is stronger. And the reason I'm putting it there is just because, not because I want to follow exactly what's happening, just because I like it. I like this color in here. Looks very interesting. Okay. Let's move on to leaves. But before we do this, again, a glaze of lighter moss, glaze. Wipe my brush, highlight this a bit in certain areas because it's dry now, and because it's a glaze, it's drying darker. It's a glaze on a dark background. It dries darker, so I can highlight it a bit. But I don't want it to be too strong. This is good. Lovely. This is really nice. We're good. See those ones in the back? They have same kind of moss color, but they're not strong. This one in the front is stronger. All right, I'm gonna pause and then we'll come back to this. All right. So let's do this. So we're gonna put some green, sap green, yellow. And you know what? Usually I put a bit of red in my green. Yeah, just a bit of red to tone the color down. But you know, today I'm just going to keep it just the way it is. And I'm just going to add some green. This is sap green, cadmium yellow light, cadmium red light. Add a tiny bit of white in here. Round brush. I'm just introducing a bit of green in here. Let's introduce a bit of green in here, just a tiny bit. Floating ones. Again, maybe a couple here. I would expect to see a little bit more green in these areas here, but just a tiny bit here and there. So it's not only the color of the orange and the yellow. Very soft brush strokes, random. These beautiful colors that I'm putting in here, like a light green now with a little bit more yellow. Just changing the color a bit of the green into a yellow green, and it just kind of brings forward the leaves and make them look very interesting and on different levels. You know, they're not all in the back. So now I'm highlighting the same leaves with some yellow and white. And I'm just going to bring in some of that, and it just kind of makes it pop, makes all of these colors look really interesting, and they pop, they come forward. So before, what we were doing, we were trying to be very careful putting oranges, orange that is like more like earth tone yellows, earth tone oranges. But now what we're doing is we're just making all of these colors come to life. All right. That just kind of changes the whole thing. Now, I'm going to wash my brush, take yellow, cadmium yellow light, cadmium red light, mix them, make a beautiful orange, a strong, nice orange. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to bring some of these colors forward a bit. Let's take a bit of more yellow. Oh, that's a beautiful orange. Really beautiful orange. This is what you see this time of year in nature. See those beautiful bright colors. Even if they're not that bright, we as artists are going to be enhancing what we see outside. it just brings everything, puts everything on a different level. All of these colors that we're seeing. In the picture or in the reference. We don't have to put everything in, like all of these colors in, but you know, why not? I'm going to add more yellow to my red, to the red I'm using, so I can change the yellows or the colors I'm using a bit. Of course, some parts of the painting has a lot more of these colors and some parts have less. You know, this part of the painting is stronger or fuller, has more leaves. I'm going to add a tiny bit of white now. This part of the painting has a lot more trees, not trees, leaves, a lot more leaves. And this is part of the the actual composition, where you have some parts of the painting, you have the focal point, and this is where you put most of the colors, bright colors, and the detail. I'm trying to do, that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm just kind of trying to make this part a little bit more intense with in terms of my colors. Okay, again, I have to keep an eye on my brush stroke. I have a line right there. So I'm going to disperse a bit these points. I'm going to disperse them a bit. So there, a bit here. Now, it doesn't mean that I am not going to put some in here. I will, but not as much as this part. Just a little bit, so you can connect this way. The painting has a bit of connection between the left and the right. Right, okay, perfect. One more color, red. This is a nice, beautiful red that I have here. Now, I am going to use red just the way it is. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to add anything. I'm just going to use the red just the way it is. And I'll see. If I find that it's too much, then I can just tone it down or just leave it just the way it is. Now, red is very strong. So I'm going to make sure my color, I'm putting it in the right spot. This is cadmium red light. I'm not going to bother starting with small and, dark, I mean dark red and then highlighting it. And now I'm going to come here and put a couple of little ones in here too. It brings the movement or the eye into this. Perfect. All right, let's put a bit more here. All right. Perfect. It's done. All right. Okay, this project is done. Next week, we'll start a new one.